My wife texted her sister, "I'm finally independent enough to leave." She had no idea I was 3 steps ahead. Divorce papers filed, accounts split, apartment keys ready. I left her scrambling while I walked away with everything perfectly in place. Hey, Reddit! My wife thought I was some boring IT guy with no ambition. So I said fine, built my own plan, and kept quiet. But she didn't see what was coming. Before we get to that, let me start from the beginning. My name's Caleb Mercer. I'm 34, work in cybersecurity, and live in a 2-story house on the edge of a mid-sized city. Not rich, not struggling either. I handle data protection and compliance for companies that want to avoid lawsuits and headlines. Most of my clients are hospitals, insurance agencies, small banks, the kinds of places where one mistake can ruin hundreds of lives overnight. My wife's name is Lena. She's 32, works in marketing for a regional healthcare company. Lena's the type who can talk to anyone, remembers birthdays, picks out the perfect gift every time. Book clubs, yoga, podcasts about self-growth. That's her world. She likes networking events and rooftop bars with fairy lights strung overhead. We met 7 years ago at a friend's birthday party. I was in grad school, pulling all-nighters on my cybersecurity degree. She was fresh out of college, working as a marketing assistant, full of ideas about life in the city and where her career might go. Back then, she told people she liked that I was focused. Said it made her feel grounded. Somewhere over the years, focused turned into serious. Then serious turned into boring. At least, that's how it felt. Lately, Lena's been moving fast. Long hours, promotions, new people in her orbit. I stay steady. Bills paid, house fixed, meals cooked when needed. We talk, but it's surface level now. Schedules, errands, whose turn it is to buy groceries. Nothing like the late-night conversations we used to have in our first apartment about where we wanted to be in 5 years. That morning started like most of mine do. Alarm at 5:15, ruck pack by the door. I wasn't always this disciplined. 2 years ago, I was 15 pounds heavier, running on caffeine and takeout, feeling like every day was just something to survive. One night, I decided to start small. Wake up early, carry weight, move with purpose. It stuck. Outside, the air was cool from last night's rain. Sidewalks glistened under the streetlights. I tightened the straps on the pack, 55 pounds inside, and started the timer on my watch. Rucking isn't like running. It's slower, heavier. Every step feels like something you chose to do on purpose. 40 minutes later, I was back. Shoulders burning, calves tight, breathing steady. Logged the distance and time in my notebook like always. Date, weight, pace, weather. No audience, no app streaks, no bragging posts. Just a line on a page proving I showed up. Inside, the house was quiet except for the fridge humming. I made eggs, toast, coffee. The simple kind. Nothing that needs 5 ingredients or TikTok tutorials. By the time the laptop booted, I already had a ticket from a client. Phishing email hit one of their sales reps. I VPN'd in, killed the session, reset credentials, checked logs for other hits. Sent a short report with steps to avoid it next time. 25 minutes, start to finish. That's what I like about my job. Problem, solution, done. No drama. I was jotting down invoice notes when Lena walked in. Hair up, navy skirt, blazer, heels clicking on the tile. She always looks put together, like she might run into someone important at any second. She poured coffee, leaned on the counter, watching me. "Why are you so cold to me lately?" she asked. I kept writing, finished the line I was on before looking up. "I'm practicing standards," I said. Her eyebrows pulled in. "Standards?" "Yeah." I sipped my coffee, trying not to live below them. She didn't say anything, just looked at me for a few seconds, like she was waiting for me to explain. I didn't. She grabbed her travel mug, keys, and walked out. The house felt quieter after the door shut. It wasn't the first time she'd said something like that, but it was the first time I didn't give her a long answer about work stress or being tired. 3 months ago, at her company's gala downtown, she introduced me to one of her new coworkers as the IT guy who fixes printers. Big ballroom, music playing, waiters weaving through with trays, and she made me sound like the guy who swaps toner cartridges. I don't fix printers, never have. I handle data security for hospitals that can't afford mistakes. If I screw up, people's medical records go public. Her company pays consultants 6 figures for what I do in-house for others. Her coworker gave me a polite nod and moved on. I didn't correct her, just watched the guy walk away while she laughed at someone's joke. On the drive home, she talked about how good the cheesecake was. Next morning, I bumped the plate by 10. Over the next few months, I worked up to 55 and kept it there. Now, sitting at the kitchen table, laptop closed, I pulled out my notebook, the same one where I log miles, and wrote at the bottom of the page, "Keep things calm. Watch patterns. No arguments. Close the book." Saturday evening, Lena and I drove to her sister Hannah's house for dinner. Hannah's husband, Ethan, had just been promoted to regional manager for his company. Big step up, bigger paycheck, the whole thing. The moment we walked in, Lena shifted into social mode. Compliments about the new curtains, hugs for everyone, laughing with Hannah about some podcast they both liked. I hung back, handed Ethan the small bottle of olive oil we brought for him. His thing was cooking, and congratulated him on the promotion right away. "Thanks, man," Ethan said, shaking my hand. "Long time coming. Lot of late nights." We sat down for dinner. Roast chicken, salad, bread from the bakery Lena likes. About halfway through the meal, Hannah asked Ethan what the promotion meant for his schedule. He talked about the bigger team, more travel, bigger responsibilities. That's when Lena slid it in. "See, Ethan's always moving forward," she said lightly, turning to Hannah. "Some people are just natural go-getters." She didn't look at me, but she didn't have to. I chewed my food, swallowed, then nodded at Ethan. "Good work, man. That's a big jump." Ethan smiled. Hannah beamed at him. Lena waited, maybe for me to get defensive or make a joke. I didn't. When dessert came out, I checked my watch. "I'm gonna head out," I said, standing. "Already?" Lena asked. "Yeah, got open mat tonight," I said. "Been on the calendar all week." The gym bag was already in the trunk. Wrist tape, mouthguard case, water bottle. I'd signed up for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes last winter, partly for fitness, partly to do something outside work. Saturday nights they held open mat. Rolling, drilling, no set class. I wasn't great, but I showed up. "Congrats again, Ethan," I said, shaking his hand before heading out. On the drive, Lena texted, "You could have stayed a little longer." I didn't answer. Not out of anger. Just didn't see a point in arguing by text. The next weekend, we had a neighborhood get-together at Derek Lewis's place. 2 streets over. Burgers, lawn chairs, kids running around with water guns. Derek works in finance, numbers guy, always reading market reports on his phone. His wife set out chips and drinks on a long folding table. Lena and I stood with a small group. Derek, his wife, another couple from the block. Conversation bounced from weather to vacations to work. That's when Lena laughed at something and tossed out another one. "Caleb keeps things simple," she said, smiling like it was a compliment. "Not chasing titles or anything like that." Derek raised an eyebrow slightly. I nodded once. "I handle cybersecurity for mid-sized companies. Data protection, threat assessments, compliance work. Keeps me busy." Derek turned toward me. "That field's exploding right now," he said. "Every firm I work with is desperate for security people. Can't hire them fast enough." "Yeah," I said. "Lot of demand." His wife asked something about ransomware she'd read in the news. I explained in 2 sentences how most attacks happen, how basic training stops half of them before they start. Nothing dramatic, just facts. The group nodded along. Lena stayed quiet. Ray Donnelly showed up a little later. Retired Army colonel, early 60s, lives across the street from us. Ray's the kind of guy people naturally listen to. Steady voice, doesn't talk just to hear himself talk. He brought his own folding chair, set it down next to mine. "Training tonight?" he asked, noticing the gym bag in my back seat when I grabbed a water. "Yeah," I said. "Open mat after this." He nodded. "You either train your standards or you train excuses," he said matter-of-factly. "Not both. That's Ray. Never lectures, just drops lines like that and moves on. Trying to keep the standards," I said. "Good man." We sat there for a while watching kids chase each other with water balloons. Derek was talking to someone else now about interest rates. Lena was over by the food table laughing with a neighbor I didn't know well. I didn't feel angry, not even embarrassed. Just noted the pattern. Public digs, small ones, always slipped in with a smile. Maybe people thought they were harmless. Maybe she thought so too. But I also noticed the shift. Derek asking me follow-up questions about cyber work. Ray nodding when I told him about the gym. People didn't see a guy coasting. They saw a guy handling his business and keeping his word. When the sun dipped low and people started folding chairs, Lena walked over holding leftover cookies in foil. "Ready to go?" she asked, like nothing had happened. "Yeah," I said. On the drive home, she talked about how nice it was to catch up with everyone. I kept my eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2. Same way I did after the gala. Back home, I wrote one line in the notebook before bed. Stop chasing approval. Keep receipts. Be fair. Then I set the alarm for 5:15. Tuesday night, 10:42 p.m., my phone rang. I was in the living room folding laundry when I saw the name on the screen. Bayview Clinic. One of my newer clients. Small medical practice with about 40 staff. I answered on the second ring. Caleb, it's Monica. We think we've been hit. Files are locking up. Getting weird messages. Can you get on a call right now? I grabbed my laptop from the kitchen counter. Send me the Zoom link. 2 minutes later, I was in my home office with 3 stressed out staff members on camera. They screen shared an image of a ransom note demanding Bitcoin to unlock their patient records. I didn't waste time talking about how bad it could get. First, unplug the affected workstation from the network, I said. Physically, not just Wi-Fi. Pull the Ethernet cable out of the wall. They moved fast. Second, disable shared folders on the main server. Right now. One of the staff followed my instructions while the others watched nervously. I kept my voice level, clear. Ransomware isn't about panic. It's about cutting off the infection before it spreads. Once the workstation was isolated and the server locked down, I walked them through checking the backup status. Turned out they had a clean backup from Sunday. That was our lifeline. Good news, I said. We can restore from here. You'll lose a day and a half of data entry, but no permanent damage. The relief on their faces was obvious, even over video. By midnight, the system was stable. I gave them instructions for wiping the infected workstation, patching vulnerabilities, and scheduling daily backups instead of weekly. Sent over my incident report with timestamps and recommendations for long-term security training. Then I opened my billing software and logged the invoice. Bayview Clinic, emergency response, 3.2 hours, $850. Simple line items. No fluff. I sent it before going to bed. The next morning, Lena was already gone when I came downstairs. She'd left early for what her text called a strategy offsite with her department. I made coffee, checked email, and saw the clinic had already paid the invoice. Easy to respect people who handle things quickly. Around noon, I took a break from work to stretch my legs and scrolled through social media. That's when I saw Lena's post. Group photo at an outdoor cafe, captioned Team Strategy Day, with a row of coffee cup emojis. The shadows on the table were short, almost directly under the chairs. Close to noon, not mid-morning like she'd told me. Behind the group, on the far wall across the street, a brass directory plaque caught the sunlight. Zooming in, I recognized the name. Caldwell and Myers, attorneys at law. I knew the building. It was downtown on 8th Street, right across from the courthouse. Strange place for a marketing strategy session. I didn't say anything to her. Just closed the app and opened my calendar. Her shared work calendar, she'd added me a while back for scheduling, only said strategy offsite all day. No location. Over the next 10 days, the same pattern showed up twice more. Another strategy offsite all day hold, another group cafe photo cropped tight, and on our joint credit card statement, the usual Cafe Luna lunch charge right around 12:40 p.m. Each of those days also had a small park right charge for 8th Street Garage, time-stamped a few minutes before lunch. That garage is directly across from Caldwell and Myers. None of it was private snooping, just public posts and the shared calendar she gave me access to, lined up against our joint statements. Individually, ordinary. Together, too neat. After lunch, I paid the card balance. The line items were clean. Cafe Luna, 12:41 p.m., and Parkrite, 8th Street Garage, 12:03 p.m. I wrote down the times and amounts in my notebook. Not angry, not jumping to conclusions, just recording. That evening, Lena came home talking about how productive the offsite was. I asked neutral questions. Where'd you meet? What was the focus? She said a co-working space near downtown and brainstorming campaign ideas. People have lunch near offices all the time. But I didn't forget the brass plaque, the garage charges, or the timestamps that nested together a little too perfectly. I spent the rest of the week focused on work. Signed 2 new small business clients, one a dental office referred by Bayview after the ransomware scare, one an accounting firm prepping for tax season. Contracts signed, retainers clear. Each contract had start dates, retainer fees, and hourly rates clearly spelled out. I added the details to my accounting sheet, updated projected income for the quarter, and blocked off time for initial assessments. Numbers don't lie. Work delivered, hours billed, invoices paid. Saturday morning before rucking, I flipped back through the week's notes. Incident response logs, new client contracts, Lena's offsite photo with the law office plaque in the background. At the bottom of the page, I wrote a single line, confirm. No yelling. Get professional advice. Then I closed the notebook, strapped on the ruck, and stepped out into the cool air. Monday morning, I called the number for Donovan and Keene, a law office Ray had recommended. The receptionist gave me an appointment for Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. On Wednesday, I walked into a small corner office on the 3rd floor of a brick building downtown. The walls had degrees in dark wood frames. The lawyer, Marissa Keene, shook my hand firmly and led me to a small table with a legal pad and 2 glasses of water already set out. "Tell me what's going on," she said. I kept it short. Married 7 years. No kids. Joint checking for bills. Mortgage in my name only. Both of us working full-time. Told her about the law office photo, the credit card charge, the feeling that a conversation about ending things was coming whether I started it or not. She nodded, asked about property, debts, retirement accounts. I gave her the numbers. She wrote everything down in neat block letters. "Here's what you need to know," she said finally. "Given how it's titled and the facts here, this state typically treats the house as yours. Any marital equity or contributions can be addressed in the split. Your retirement accounts are yours individually. Joint savings get split. Everything else, cars, furniture, bank accounts, falls under marital property. Standard no-fault divorce here is 90 days start to finish if both parties cooperate." I asked about alimony. "Not likely," she said. "Your incomes are close enough and no kids involved. You each keep what you earn moving forward." She slid a single sheet across the table with bullet points. Property division basics, timeline, estimated costs, what documentation to start gathering. "Keep it clean, keep it quiet, it stays simple," she said. I thanked her, paid the consultation fee, and walked out with the paper folded neatly into my notebook. That afternoon, I opened a new checking account at a credit union near my office. Direct deposit from my job got rerouted there. I left the joint account untouched for shared bills through the end of the month. Utilities, groceries, nothing else. From that point on, money was simple. Salary hit the new credit union checking, consulting retainers landed in the business account, the joint account auto-paid just the shared bills until month end. Then I froze my credit online. The freeze came with a PIN, so I could lift it for a check and put it back the same day. 5 minutes per bureau, no charge, confirmation numbers saved to my notes. Identity theft wasn't the only risk in life. Sometimes you protect yourself from messy credit card applications too. I also moved my consulting payments to a business account I'd set up months earlier, but never used much, updating invoice templates and ACH details so retainers routed there automatically. From now on, side income would stay separate and clean. Thursday evening after work, I drove to look at a 1-bedroom apartment about 10 minutes from downtown. Second floor, small balcony, decent view of the river if you leaned out far enough. The landlord handed me a lease printout. 12 months first and last month up front. Move in anytime after the first. "I can hold it for 30 days if you sign now," he said. I walked through the place again. Living room big enough for a couch and desk. Kitchen old but clean. Bedroom with 2 windows facing east for morning light. "All right," I said. "Send me the paperwork." Before I submitted the application, I lifted the freeze for a few hours. When the approval email hit, I refroze all 3 bureaus, paid the deposit online from the credit union checking that night, and bought 3 plastic storage bins from Home Depot on the way home. Friday morning before work, I sent Lena a short text. "We should talk to someone. Counselor, maybe. Things feel off." She replied an hour later. "I'm really busy with campaigns this month. Maybe later?" I screenshotted it, saved it in the same folder where I kept receipts and bank statements. Not as evidence for court, just for clarity later if she said we never tried. Saturday was meal prep day. Chicken breasts, rice, vegetables in labeled containers stacked in the fridge. I bought a new tub of protein powder, set it next to the blender on the counter, rucked 4 miles with the weighted pack before lunch, showered, then hit the 2 p.m. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class at the gym. Coach had us drilling guard passes and escapes for 90 minutes. I got tapped 3 times by a blue belt half my size. Walked out drenched, shoulders sore, head clear. That evening, Ray was sitting on his porch, cleaning a pair of old hiking boots. "You look like a man with a full calendar," he said when I walked over. "Just trying to keep things straight," I said. He nodded toward the notebook in my hand. "Decide your line and hold it without noise," he said. "People respect the quiet ones who follow through." I told him I'd met with the lawyer, opened the account, lined up a place to stay. He didn't offer advice, didn't say leave or stay. Just nodded once like a man checking boxes off a list in his head. "All right then," he said. "Keep your routine. Don't let feelings break it." Sunday afternoon, I printed a single page on my home printer. At the top, plan, Mercer, household. Underneath, mortgage remains Caleb's responsibility until sale or refinance. Joint savings split 50-50 after closing existing obligations. No contest over vehicles or personal accounts. One of us moves within 30 days of signing. Which person moves is decided at signing. Counseling offer extended once. No further offers have declined. One page, clear terms, nothing petty. I folded it, slid it into the notebook with the lawyer's handout, and set the notebook back on my desk. The first sign came on a Wednesday morning. I walked into the kitchen expecting the usual routine, Lena grabbing coffee, maybe scrolling through her phone before heading out the door. Instead, she was at the stove in sweatpants and a t-shirt, flipping pancakes. Real ones. Mixing bowl on the counter, spatula in hand, the smell of butter in the air. "Morning," she said, cheerful in a way that didn't quite match the gray sky outside. "Thought we could have breakfast together." I set my bag down slowly. "Sure," I said, pulling a mug from the cabinet. She slid 2 plates onto the table. Pancakes stacked high, steam rising. I sat, poured coffee, kept it simple. "How's work?" she asked after a few bites. "You've been so busy lately, right?" "Picked up some new clients," I said. "Small businesses. Keeps things steady." She nodded like she was impressed. "That's great. You've always been good at that kind of thing." I didn't say anything back, just kept eating. The pancakes were actually really good. Before leaving for work, she suggested we take a weekend trip. Maybe that cabin resort by the lake? Just us, no distractions. "I've got plans Saturday," I said. "Gym in the morning, work after that. Maybe another time." She smiled like it didn't bother her. "Okay, another time then." Over the next 2 weeks, the changes kept coming. Compliments on my haircut when I got a trim. Asking what I was cooking for lunch like she suddenly cared about the difference between grilled chicken and baked salmon. Even sat next to me on the couch one night while I was updating billing spreadsheets. She wasn't watching what I was doing, scrolling her phone mostly, but close enough to notice. Friday evening, she appeared at my office door while I was drafting a security policy for a client. "You work so hard," she said, leaning against the frame. "Pays the bills," I said, typing the last line. "I mean it," she said. "I don't say that enough." I saved the document, shut the laptop, and asked if she needed something. "Just wondering if you want to try that new Italian place tomorrow." My treat. "Already have plans," I said. "But thanks." She hesitated like she wanted to argue, then left the room without another word. Sunday afternoon, we were at the grocery store picking up the usual: eggs, chicken, rice, coffee. In the produce section, we ran into Maya Patel, one of Lena's co-workers. I'd met her once at the company gala months ago when Lena introduced me as the IT guy who fixes printers. "This is my husband, Caleb," Lena said now, smiling like we were in a commercial. "The cybersecurity guy I told you about." Maya raised her eyebrows slightly before smiling politely. "Nice to see you again." I nodded. "Hey, how's work treating you?" She talked about a campaign project while I grabbed a bag of apples. I paid for everything at the self-checkout while Lena chatted with her near the door. As we walked out, Lena said, "Maya's team might need security help soon. I told her you'd do consulting." "Okay," I said. Left it at that. That evening, she made a point of asking about my day again. Not small talk either. She wanted details. What kind of projects, how many clients, even how training at the gym was going. "Feels like we haven't connected in a while," she said over dinner. "Yeah," I said. "Busy month. I want to fix that," she said. I didn't answer. Just finished eating, cleaned my plate, loaded the dishwasher. The next morning, she packed my lunch before I left for the gym. Turkey sandwich, apple slices, protein bar. Labeled the bag with my name like I was heading to summer camp. "Thanks," I said, taking it with me. She smiled like she was waiting for more. I didn't give her more. That weekend, she tried again with the trip idea. "Cabin's available next month," she said. "We should book it before it fills up." "I'll check my schedule," I said, neutral. By Sunday night of the second week, I'd counted at least half a dozen small gestures. Breakfasts, packed lunches, questions about my day, compliments about work, even the public rebrand in front of Maya. She was working hard at something. I kept my responses even. No snapping, no excitement, no big conversations about feelings. Before bed, I opened the notebook where I logged miles, payments, client calls, everything. On a fresh page, I wrote, "Performances versus consistency. Stick to consistency." Then I set the alarm for 5:15 and turned out the light. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday evening, the house was quiet, except for the dishwasher running softly in the background. I had 3 documents printed and stacked on the counter next to my notebook. One was a screenshot of Lena's strategy off-site photo, with the law office name visible in the background. The second was a 1-page timeline I'd built from public posts, her shared calendar, and our joint statements. No hacking, no private messages, just public posts and shared records not lining up neatly. The third was the page Marissa Keene, the attorney, had helped me draft. It listed property terms, timelines, and next steps in simple bullet points. No emotions, no arguments. Lena came home a little after 7. She set her bag down, kicked off her shoes, and poured a glass of water before noticing the papers on the counter. "What's all this?" she asked. "Stuff we need to talk about," I said. She glanced at the papers, then at me. "Okay, what's going on?" I slid the first page toward her. "This is you at the off-site. That's Caldwell and Myers behind you. Law office, not a co-working space." Her eyes flicked over the page. "So? We had lunch near there." "Right." I slid the second page over. "This is the timeline. Lunch near there, charge on the card, calendar holds in that part of town on the same days you told me you were somewhere else. It adds up." She shifted her weight, crossed her arms. "Were you following me?" "No," I said. "All above board. Public posts and shared records. I didn't open your emails or touch your phone. I lined up what you posted with what showed up on our joint statement and what you said." She didn't answer. I tapped the third page but didn't slide it over yet. "Here's the thing. I don't want a life where I'm marketed down to friends, coworkers, neighbors. I don't want sideways comments about ambition and potential while you're planning exit strategies behind my back. So this is the plan. Papers go in Monday. One of us moves within 30 days. Your choice. No public mess. We split what's fair. Keep it clean. Keep it quiet." Her mouth opened, then closed again like she was deciding which question to ask first. Finally, "You're just ending it?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm not interested in whatever story comes after law office meetings and secret timelines. I like simple endings." She stared at the papers like they might rearrange themselves if she waited long enough. "How did you even—" she started. I cut in, calm. "Like I said, public information. Your own posts, your own receipts. Nothing private." She shook her head slowly. "This doesn't have to happen. We can go to counseling. Work through things." "I offered counseling 2 weeks ago," I said. "You said you were too busy with campaigns." She pressed her lips together. "I didn't think things were this bad." "They are," I said. "And I'm not looking for a rescue plan now that the exit plan got interrupted." Her arms uncrossed. She leaned on the counter, voice quieter. "What if I said I was sorry? That I handled things wrong?" "Then I'd say I agree," I said. "You did handle things wrong." "I mean it," she said quickly. "Maybe you do," I said. "But I'm not building a future on maybe." And she looked down at the timeline page again, at the dates and locations listed in neat rows. "I can explain those." "I'm sure you can," I said. "But I'm not running a cross-examination here. I'm handing you the terms. Mortgage stays mine, joint savings split, everything else separate. 30 days to figure out your next place. That's the deal." Her voice sharpened. "You can't just decide this on your own." "I can," I said evenly. And I did. The dishwasher clicked over to its drying cycle. Steam hissed softly into the kitchen. "You don't want to hear my side?" she asked finally. "I've heard your side," I said. "For months. In front of family, neighbors, co-workers. All the little digs about ambition and drive. I heard it." She gripped the edge of the counter. "So that's it? After everything?" "That's it," I said. "Clean break. We both walk away with what's fair." She looked at the plan page like it might burn her fingers if she touched it. "You already talked to a lawyer?" she asked. "Wednesday morning," I said. "Consultation only. No filings yet. Monday's when it starts if you agree to keep it simple. And if I don't, then it gets expensive," I said. "For both of us. And public, which helps nobody." She looked at me for a long time, like she was trying to find some crack in the wall. "Caleb, please," she said finally. "We can fix this." I shook my head. "We had time to fix it. You spent it somewhere else." I sent her a PDF version of the plan by email before leaving the house. Subject line, "Next steps. Mercer." Household body text was 3 sentences. "As discussed, attached are the terms for separation. One of us moves within 30 days, decided at signing. Split accounts as listed. Mortgage stays mine. Filing begins Monday if no alternative agreement is signed. No threats, no arguments, just written clarity." Then I put on my running shoes and went for a long walk through the neighborhood. No music, just the sound of my steps on the pavement and the evening wind moving through the trees. Move-out day came 3 weeks after the kitchen conversation. I chose to be the one to move, well within the 30-day window. The River apartment opened up early, and giving her the house for the full 30 kept things simple. I kept it simple. 3 storage bins, 2 suitcases, and my desk chair loaded into the back of the truck I borrowed from Ray. I'd already packed the files, gym gear, and my consulting laptop. Left the couch, bed, and dining table. She could sell them or keep them. Before leaving, I walked through the house one last time. Checked the closet shelves, the bathroom cabinet, the drawer in the kitchen where I kept spare keys and tape measures. Empty. The office was the only room that felt like mine. Desk near the window, monitors disconnected, cables coiled neatly in a box. I wiped the surface down, closed the blinds, and left the folder with utility account details she might need on the counter. She wasn't there. We'd agreed on separate schedules to avoid scenes. I left the house keys and the garage opener on the kitchen counter, locked the front door from the inside, stepped into the garage and pulled it shut, then used the exterior keypad to close the garage door before I drove across town to the apartment near the river. The place smelled faintly of paint from the recent touch-ups. One bedroom, one bathroom, small living area, kitchen with exactly 4 cabinets. I carried everything upstairs in 2 trips. By evening, the desk was against the wall, laptop charging, the self-install kit done, and the router blinking next to the outlet. Bed frame assembled, sheets on, clothes in the closet, pull-up bar mounted over the bedroom door. Training bag leaned against the corner, gloves and wraps stuffed inside. Dinner was rice, chicken, and broccoli cooked in a single pan. Eaten at the counter while my phone buzzed with 2 new client emails, asking about contracts for next month. I answered both before bed. The first morning in the new place, I made coffee in a plain black mug, ate 2 eggs on toast, and watched the river through the narrow balcony door. 5:15 a.m., same as always. Ruck on, boots laced. 4 miles along the path by the water before most of the city was awake. Back home, shower, black polo, laptop opened by 7 for a kickoff call with the accounting firm that signed last week. We went over onboarding steps, security policy templates, employee training dates, firewall updates. 40 minutes, clear action items, scheduled the next call for Friday. No small talk, just work done right. That afternoon, I drove to the community center where Ray volunteered twice a month. He'd set up a small tech room with 6 donated laptops for kids interested in computers. Caleb's the security guy I told you about, Ray said when I walked in. The kids were middle school age. One of them, Jordan, was trying to install Python on a laptop with half the steps wrong. I showed him how to open the terminal, type the correct commands, run a simple Hello World script. When the words printed on the screen, Jordan grinned like he'd just launched a rocket. Now make it say your name, I said. He typed slowly, hit enter, saw it work, grinned even wider. Ray watched from the doorway, arms crossed, nodding once. We spent an hour going over passwords, updates, why you don't click random links. Nothing heavy, just basics they could use right away. When the session ended, the kids packed up while I wrote a short checklist on the whiteboard for next week. Jordan high-fived me on the way out. Evening meant training. Tuesday open mat, same as always. I rolled with a blue belt who caught me in a triangle choke 2 minutes in. Tapped, reset, tried again. Tried. Keep your elbows in, he said afterward, showing me the gap I kept leaving open. Drilled the escape 5 times before we rolled again. Still got caught once, but lasted longer. On the drive home, shoulders sore, I thought about how progress in the gym felt exactly like progress everywhere else. Small corrections, steady reps, nothing dramatic. Back at the apartment, I opened my budget sheet. Pay from my main job on one tab, consulting retainers on another. Expenses listed by date, rent, utilities, insurance, groceries. The numbers balanced cleanly. No surprises. I set reminders for quarterly taxes, checked the dates for the next 2 client renewals, and closed the laptop. Lena texted twice that week. We should talk, just to clear the air. I didn't answer. Not anger, just no need. The plan was signed, accounts split. Timelines followed. Nothing left to debate. From mutual friends, I heard she rented a townhouse across town. Closer to her office, apparently. Fine by me. Saturday morning, I rucked 5 miles along the river trail before stopping at the community center again. Jordan had figured out how to change font colors in the Python script and was showing 2 other kids like he'd invented it himself. Nice, I said, checking his syntax. Clean work. Ray handed me a coffee. Kids like you, he said. They like the computers, I said. Same thing at that age, he replied. Sunday evening, I set up a small whiteboard above my desk in the apartment. Wrote 3 columns. Clients, training, other underclients. Deadlines for the accounting firm, the dental office, the new real estate group starting next month. Under training, BJJ class schedule, ruck mileage goals, weight targets for the pack. Under other, community center sessions, budget review dates, call with my brother next weekend. Simple system, nothing fancy, but clear. Monday afternoon, I got a text from Ray. Standards held? I sent back, always. The next morning looked like every other. Early alarm, ruck on, door locked behind me before sunrise. The river was quiet except for a few geese cutting across the water. Same weight in the pack. Same path under my boots. But it felt lighter now. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.